So do that next, then put the claws on, simply because when the claws are on, they get in the way when you're trying to use your saw blade. Be very careful not to hit any of your delicate work on the other side. The way I kind of play it safe is I always have the blade angled back, so it's cutting this way and then the blade's going away from anything the other side. But just always keep it in mind what the saw blade might be hitting the other side. And leave this bar going through it right until the last minute. I mean, I might as well just leave it in there until all the claws are on. It's like a little safety bar. Alright, chopped it out. I may open up these holes a lot more. These are very rough, the side ones, but I wanted to start them off just so there's a little bit of work left to do when the claws are on. I can't really decide how much to open them. That looks a bit thick around there, but I don't know. I'll think about it as I proceed. Next step, I'm going to put these side claws on. All my claws, the usual rule, going down to the centre. Imagine a centre point in the ring, so they'll be going down to that angle. If you follow that rule, all the claws should be all symmetrical and nice. Thought I'd better explain what I'm doing. Flattened it with the file. Then I cut into it with a cylinder phrase. The cylinder phrase was the same gauge as my wire, which is about 1.1. Then I used a ball phrase to just mark down into it a little bit. Then I've got a drill, same gauge as the wire, so I'm just going to drill down. I did actually drill it with a thinner drill, just because I don't want to risk slipping off, because it goes to a point at the top of the shank. So I'm just opening up that drill hole now, considering going straight down to the centre of the ring, get that angle right. So that's drilling down the top of the shank, and it's hitting the side of that collet as well. I ain't got to do a lot. So now that claw has got something to bite into. If you just solder it on the top, it's not really strong. It's better to have it going in the shank, a little bit at least. What I do is I flatten the end of the claw. That drill hole, the bottom of the hole, doesn't just go flat, it goes to a point, obviously, because there's a bit of a tapered point on the drill, so the bottom of that hole has that shape. So I sharpen the claw a little bit, and it fills the space nicely when it goes in that hole. So there's less of a gap in there, means the solder is going to be much stronger. If I just put that flat-ended claw in, the solder has to fill that gap up. You get away with it, but it's not ideal. So just sharpen it a little bit, just rotate it my fingers. You should put it in a pin vise to really do it really well. Yeah. This is 2 days work now. I've done a half day, I did a full day yesterday, and then today another half day. Got this far. Next step, I'm putting the claws on, or should I do the small ones? I'll put the big ones on first. Yeah, if you see my other videos doing claws on a collet, same rules apply. Work it down to the center of the ring, and all the claws go down towards that. So I'm going to do these 4 on because they can be soldered on nice and securely at 2 points. This is a struggle doing this kind of job in silver, because the whole, silver conducts heat. So you've got to get the whole thing hot enough for the solder to flood, and it's really risky putting these on when you've got claws like that just soldered in one position. So I'm going to have to work very, very carefully, because it's actually difficult to finish this in silver. So that's why I want to do these first, because they're held in 2 positions, and then I'm going to do 2 little claws there and there. Hopefully I can get it all done without any problems. Yep, so what I'll do is I will use a cylinder phrase about the same gauge as that, put it in there, so there's a nice little comfortable seat for this claw to go in, and I'll just hold it in with tweezers and solder it top and bottom. Cut a little scoop out down there. making sure my snipped little tapered edge goes past the bottom of my collet, so when I file it back it doesn't cause me a problem. Pair of tweezers. It's being held in position now. This is so sketchy. It's just being silver. When it gets hot, it just turns to butter, so I can't. I'm just gonna have to go for it, I think. Maybe I can hold it from the bottom and get that one to touch first. Might be safer. When I've got money to do it, I'll start doing my videos in platinum, I think. It'll just make life so much easier. Probably work much faster as well. Okay, I feel. Oh, did that move? Yeah, it did. Okay, I'm gonna make that work somehow. I can solder that much easier. Alright, wish me luck. Let's put it in my slot. Newsflash. Yeah, as I suspected, I had a bit of trouble. You can see that join there, it lifted up. Had that connected there. I think this solder join flood, maybe I was squeezing it, the tension on it or something. So that solder came out. So it's ballsed up a little bit. I'm going to have to pull this claw off, close that down again, and then put the new claw on there, and then try again with this one. I'm not going to be able to, it's too risky. I can't hold the claws in position like I normally would make a piece of jewellery. I can't hold it with tweezers because it puts tension on it. And as soon as you get it hot, solder joins start flooding and it's just going to fall apart. So it's getting tricky now in silver, gold or whatever. I would have no troubles whatsoever. I can find a way. But I'm calling it a day. It's like the end of the day now, so I'm getting tired. So mistakes are going to happen. Yeah, see you tomorrow. Okay, next day. Still feeling a bit down about this. This is really annoying. You can see that's lifted up there. There's even a risk to me heating it up and pulling that claw off because it could come unattached from there. This is a bit of a problem. But I just need to snap out of blaming the silver, blaming the hot room, blaming my blowtorch. Just be positive and think about how I'm going to do it. What I may do is, to make pulling that off under heat safer, I'm just going to flood a bit more solder there and there. Looks like its solder's dried out. That gives that a bit more stability, and I should be able to just pull that gently away without any trouble. And then I've just got to simply hold that down. Or no, I'm not holding it anyway anymore after that. I'm going to push that down, hopefully I can get it to stay in position, and then make sure that's nicely soldered, and then have another go at putting a claw on. Tell you what I need medium solder. This is just hard solder. I put these three pieces together. Everything else is easy, so it would have been nice if I could have done everything up to this point in medium, and then used easy solder for putting the claws on. That would have been nice. Alright, let's get this done. Make sure I'm comfortable. Slow that down a bit. I decided a long time ago for this channel, the priority is authenticity. So I knew one day I'll be making something and a little mistake would happen, and I told myself if that happens in the future, I've got to show it in the video. So I can very easily edit all this out and make myself look good, but it's not a real, making things start to finish with no problems is not a real experience. There we go. Easy does it, as they say. good news. It was just 10 minutes work to get that claw sorted. So I've lost that time plus the time I spent putting on that side claw and then balls it up and having to pull that off. But it's repaired alright. I put too much solder on, but I can clean that off. I learnt the hard way. I can't hold it with tweezers like I normally do, putting those claws on. So I'm going to make a kind of V, cut a scoop out of the cylinder phrase for both claws on one side, and make a kind of V and just have it, hopefully I can make this work, have it laying down on top of that V claw, and I should be able to tack them on both at the same time. So what I'm doing here is cutting a groove on the left side and the right side of that centre collet, just with a cylinder phrase. Then hopefully, I think I've got enough wire. Where's my bit of wire gone? I can bend up a kind of V that just sits there, goes dong dong like that. I put it down flat on there, have that on top, space it out so it just sits on it, and then I can at least, as long as I've got that angle right, I can at least sort of tack it in position on that top claw. And that way I can get these claws soldered on at the right angles without having to put any kind of weight on it or any pressure on it, because it's a delicate thing, all held together with easy solder, so becoming a bit tricky to work on. And I'm probably gonna have to end up pulling down more wire to finish it because of this. Alright, used to be about that long. Bit annoying, never mind. About there. Quite nice, isn't it? Close up a little bit more. I guess a secondary quality you'll get if you practice jewellery is you're a good problem solver. Like you find ways to fix problems, or you're thinking of clever ways to make things. So working with your restrictions. I'm actually really liking this. So you got your V claw sitting down, so that's two claws at a nice angle, mirroring each other, perfectly parallel. All I've got to do, as long as you cut these grooves nicely, all I've got to do is just slide that back till it fits in and look in there, so they look nice. Put something under the shank that's flat, so the ring stays nice and horizontal, and lifts it up just enough where, when you look on this side, they're nicely tucked into the groove. I think this is actually a really good technique to put claws on a ring when they do this next time. You've got to love these accidents you stumble across when you're making stuff and trying out new things. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we've done is we've been creative and imaginative, trying to find a way to get myself out of trouble, or to get past a kind of a difficult part of making this ring. Being silver and all done in easy solder, it's a problem I can't really hold on to with tweezers like I normally do, but working with that restriction in mind, I've thought of doing it this way, which I think may be an easier, quicker, more accurate way of putting claws on the side of a collet anyway. Square collet at least, or anything with a flat side on the end. Yeah, I like it. I think this is gonna work really well, and it's something I'll keep in mind and may try again in the future. There you go. I had to be careful lining it up, making sure that V was like going really central, but it's worked alright. I think it's quite a good little trick. So I've tacked on one side, so I'm just going to do the other one. Then I'll put it in the acid and have another proper look at it. And I'll tell you what, these little discs stink when you get them hot. Don't use these like I'm doing for any kind of height support. I'll find something else for the next solder. So I'm going to look round it, quite like it. It's all straight and nice, and because that's soldered on there and there, I reckon I can just put it down like that on the block and get away with soldering that one and then that one without having to hold anything in position. Oh, flooded in there, they went on the claw a little bit. I hate that. Still, safe. it worked. Alright, so I had to touch up a few solder joins, wanted them to flood through really properly. I've got to make a second V-claw. Maybe I should have done 2 of these. I know I didn't have the metal, did I? I've just been pulling down wire so I can do that again. First of all, I'm just going to get these claws the same, and then I can use it as a guide. When I'm cutting the grooves on there, I can keep trying it on my claw. So I definitely, when it's fitted, it's definitely the same as this side. So I'm just opening up these now with a slightly wider cylinder phrase, which is more similar to the wire I'm putting on. Just pull the top in a little bit more. This here, this one. Okay. Let's have a general look, seeing how symmetrical they are. Okay, it feels like I'm cheating, because I've never done like this before. It's quite funny seeing 2 go on there at the same time. Oh, this is brilliant, look at that. Just 2 held in there at the same time. I phrased that one in too far this way, and this one is not that far. Not towards the centre enough. Yeah, right, this one's got to come in a little bit. That's a bit better. It's the minute little adjustment that's made the claws line up much better, and it just looks nicer as well. It looks more in the middle. I've tacked it on just one side there. Just want to check the accuracies of my claw, so looking at this edge and the edge behind it, tilt it away from me until they are level, and I know the ring is directly pointing towards the camera lens in this case, and then keeping it there, rotate it left and right, and the claws on the back should be perfectly in line with those and sort of disappear behind each other at exactly the same time, both sides. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. I just want to get this finished somehow, this ring. And don't forget, I've still got to put 2 claws on there and there, so that might be interesting. Maybe I should have done that first before these big ones. Okay, so I cut those bottom V's off and decided to in the end, feeling a bit brave again. Going around it, checking all my solder joins, filing up bits and getting rid of all the excess bits of solder, because I was a bit messy with my soldering. I was just dying, just kind of in a state of minor panic just to get the claws on and make progress with the ring after my little setback on the end there. Got to cut those binks out. I've got to tidy up the back holes on the sides. Let me open up that middle one a little bit as well. I've got to get these 4 claws on at the back of these pear shapes, which I'm a bit nervous about, but I'm going to think about that while I clean it up. Alright, putting these final claws on, what I'm doing is like a little U shape. I've got a cylinder phrase, I'm just going to touch it in there and there, try and do it neatly and accurately, but I'm just going to do it by eye. I'm not really measuring it out super accurately, but I'll do a good job just doing it by hand and eye. Yeah, I'm going to cut the little slots for them with a cylinder phrase. They are just going to go in that top section, top bezel, and then bend this into a U. Hopefully I can get it just under its own tension, just to sit in there, both sides. 2 little spots of solder, left and right, and then just cut out the middle section, leave me with 2 little claws sticking up. These are my little U shapes. So I'm just going to flatten the ends of these. Getting deliciously close to finishing this ring. So that's holding on there now. Push it down a little bit more. There we go. Looks nice and neat. I've flattened the sides already, so it sits nice and neat against there. Floors are reasonably straight, not perfect, but they're perfectly fine for soldering in that position. I'll just tweak them back ever so slightly if I need to. Yep, there you go. Do that both sides, solder it in, clean it all up, job's done. Alright, I'm busy. Put these U-shapes on. Just snipping them off now. What I did, I flattened them. I was careful how they slotted on, not to go too far over the edge, and that saves me any tricky cleaning up inside. Shorten these a bit. Okay, so it's complete, just needs a lot of work cleaning it up. I've got to cut that pip out. So let's do a bit of cleaning up, and this bottom of this shank I might go in a little bit towards that bottom bezel, or that collet. I don't really want this little step there. I threaded the saw blade through, but I was chopping away, but I was nervous about damaging it the other side, so I'm going to phrase it out. It's a little bit safer. Cleaning out the excess little bits of metal, because I just phrased out that centre bit, that little pip. I've got these really small needle files, which are totally worn out. I need to get new ones, like I keep saying about all my files. You can thread a saw blade through, but it tend to be a bit tricky, especially on the bottom one where it's curved that way, and also you run a risk of just slipping off and then nicking the side of your claw. So I think it's much safer to use needle files where possible with this little section. This file, I was getting nowhere fast with that one, so I've got a much bigger file, much more coarse teeth, just using the point. I did actually grind the top of this down to give me more space doing jobs like this. It's useful. They make them too chunky for some reason. Another idea for my tool collection. Also, the name Bilton has a nice ring to it for high quality tools. I'm bringing out my own range of Bilton tools. Gonna have very thin, very flat, super hard metal so they don't wear out needle files. They're gonna be expensive, but worth the money. Sometimes people confuse expensive with bad value. Something can have a very high price, but it'd be extremely good value. If you did put a pip in yours, don't forget this is rounded, so don't just file it flat. You gotta think about putting that curve on a little bit. So I'm just rocking my needle file. I'm back on this one because I've got rid of the main majority of that lump. But that pip was just me sorting out my problem, because working in silver with too much easy soldering going on through making the ring. This was platinum, and you had to put that pip in. You'd be ruining your polish on the inside doing this. You could get a bit of paper in there and then use your polishing string to get it all buffed up again. But I think in platinum you wouldn't have needed to put that pip in there at all. So now I'm just gonna go over it with my slightly smoother needle files, just making sure, get rid of all the burrs around the edges, get all the claws matching heights, got to shorten these, get all the tops all nice and flat. be buffing over it that way, clean up all the solder joins. I will be using my rubber discs to get all the solder lines perfectly sharp. I won't bother polishing it because it's silver and it will just end up rounding off all my nice sharp edges, so it'll just kind of ruin it. Oh yeah, still got to I'm going to take in that a little bit, get that nice rounded edge just going into that bottom bezel, under bezel, tidying up this claw, solder all over it. Yeah, just a bit of work to do, but all just, obviously neaten up the shank, get that all properly finished. So just the whole thing is all papered up and all nice and clean. So I won't bother showing you that on video, I'm just going to crack on with it and get this job finished. Okay, another scorching hot day. Right, we got to the end of the ring, we finished it. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I do actually really like this ring. It was more of a struggle than I thought getting to the end and getting it finished nicely. It's my fault really for not having medium solder. I think if I just joined the 3 parts together, like the top plates where the stones sit in, if I just joined them with hard solder, done everything else with medium solder, and then just doing the claws with easy, it would have been fine. But just having the majority of it all done at easy solder, it was causing me problems when I was getting to the end of it. So what was kind of cool was I'm quite happy it happened in a way, because I think it's good to show you things don't always go to plan and then you have to think of a new route to get the job done. And it was quite cool that I come up with that V-claw technique. It worked really well, putting it flat, and like I think I mentioned before, I'm tempted just to make another collet just to try out that claw technique again on a kind of largish 4-cornered thing, like square or rectangle, whatever. I think it's going to work really well in the future, so I want to try that again. But looking over the ring, yes, I haven't made too much effort cleaning it up. If this was a proper piece for a customer, I'd spend a lot of time getting everything really perfect. All these little edges really perfect, every claw nicely buffed back, like every solder joint cleaned up. Around here is a bit messy. And then the more work you do before polishing, but basically I don't like polishing, so I found that the more work you do getting it really accurate and all the surfaces really smooth at this stage means there's less work to do on the polishing motor, and you'll do a better polish as well. Like the less severe of a polish you got to give it, the more likely you are to end up with a nicer finish, and all your corners will remain sharp. If you had a big scratch on the side, you're trying to polish it out, you're just kind of wearing out the ring to get a nice finish on it. So yeah, I recommend doing as much work as you can tolerate at this stage, and then there's less work to do on the polishing motor. But looking at it from the side, like the gaps are always really unforgiving of any inaccuracies. Mine come out quite well. Claw angles, they kind of mirror it in. This one I don't really think they're quite to the centre, it's not bad. But yeah, they look alright. I know these are not great, but I was just dying to get them on there. But that little U-shaped trick worked quite well. I didn't actually have as much trouble as I thought I was going to have putting these little side ones on. They come out alright. Maybe it'd look a bit nicer if they're just a bit more in, maybe a bit closer to sort of sitting under that stone. Anyway, but yeah, it's alright. Again, didn't put too much effort into these as well. Maybe it would look nicer if that wall was thinner. Could take these holes a bit bigger. Shank, I don't mind it. I don't mind. I don't have a problem with it at all. But maybe I would thin it off slightly there and there, just so it's a bit more coming down, a bit of a sharper angle. I'm just keeping it the same thickness further up basically, and then from about there going taller. But I don't mind it as it is. Looking down on it, it's all pretty straight. Right, and while I was at work today, this ring, you know, I struggled with it a little bit to get it finished. It is quite advanced, and also not to everyone's taste, because the stones are up quite high. Some people might want a much flatter, much closer to the finger kind of version. So I thought of a way to do a much easier version, much easier, be much quicker to make, and it's a suitable thing for showing people how to make, because if you're new to making jewellery or you haven't done a 3-stone before, trying obviously the easier, more simpler ways first. So it's a benefit to know how to make a ring in a more simple way, or just have the idea that it's possible, because when you're a real jeweller, customers will come to you with a picture in a magazine or something on a website, and they say, I like this, and then you tell them how much it's going to cost, and then when they get back up off the floor, you can tell them about cheaper ways to get the same effect. So basically, looking straight down on this ring, they look exactly the same. The stones are laid out, same amount of claws, but looking from the side, it'll be a bit different. But basically, a very, very similar ring for a lot less money, because it'll be a lot less complicated to make. So you do it much quicker, and there'll be just less faffing about. So it's a good thing to be able to make cheaper versions of expensive rings, because you're definitely going to be asked to do that when you're a professional jeweler. One other thing about making this ring and struggling with it a little bit, making me think about the future of the channel. I really need to move on from silver and fake stones. Problem is, it's expensive to make pieces of jewellery, because I'm effectively showing you how to make costume jewellery. That's silver for very, very low price amethyst and a synthetic stone in the centre. It's kind of costume jewellery. Like if I set those stones and polished it all beautifully, a shop would probably offer me like £20 for it at the most, even though that's 2.5 days work. So it'd be nice if I'm putting the effort into making these videos to actually end up with a proper finished piece of jewellery. And also, there's a lot of techniques and things I can tell you about, like specific to working in platinum and specific to working into yellow gold and white gold, 18 karat, 9 karat. There are a lot of things I can tell you which they'll never enter my videos if I'm only ever working on silver. So I may, if I can get my subscriber level up, I may start a Patreon account. I'm a bit reluctant. I don't really like the idea of doing that, but it would help me a great deal if I can actually buy some proper metal and some proper soldering equipment. And I can really take these lessons to the next level and be really specific and actually really help people who are already professional jewelers and looking to do stuff that they're not getting the opportunity to do at work, so they can get their own little setup at home or whatever, and then they can self-teach themselves to a new higher level. So anyway, that's it guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope there was some useful information in it. Like I say, I'm quite pleased that I had a bit of a problem with it and then overcome that problem and ended up with a finished good quality ring, because that's all part of the experience. There's no way, no one ever makes all the jewellery they've ever made works perfectly start to finish. And if there's any other instructional jewellery making videos and they make out that they do everything perfectly, they're doing a lot of editing tricks, because things don't always go to plan. So I quite like the fact that I could feature some of my troubles in the video. So I feel like it's a more authentic, real jewellery making experience you witnessed on the video. But that's it. Yeah, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share, hit that bell, and then see you next time for more Diamond Mountain. Bye.